Hi and welcome to Warts and All Wellbeing. Today I thought I'd talk a little bit about that ridiculous notion of one size fits all. That obviously you see a lot around with clothing, but also maybe within the wellbeing space. Obviously with clothing it's ridiculous, like how can one size fit all? I have a couple of friends who are vertically challenged and there's absolutely no way that they can fit into the same size leggings that I can fit into, at least not and have them as full length. And so one size fits all just isn't really a thing. And it's the same when it comes to well-being. So often you'll see the media headlines which says, gratitude will increase your well-being, or mindfulness will increase your well-being. And there's this tendency to think that one size will fit all, that just because it increased well-being for that person, it's got to do the same for me. And then when it doesn't, we think there's something wrong with us, or we chuck the whole thing out, the baby out with the bathwater. So I wanted to share a little bit about the science and what's actually going on when we see those sorts of headlines. Science doesn't prove anything. It doesn't prove anything. And it really bugs me when I see science has proved X, Y, and Z. What science has done has shown that with that particular group of people on that particular occasion, whatever the intervention or the strategy was that they used, increased or didn't increase their well-being. So it might be that there were a group of people who will run through keeping a gratitude journal every night. In fact, there was. And what it found was those that kept a gratitude journal, their well-being increased more than the people that just kept a regular journal. So the science then can, I want to use the word extrapolate, like David Bellamy, but what the science does is take out from that and say, well, gratitude journal can increase well-being. And it can, and it did for those people on that one occasion. That doesn't mean it's going to work again the next time, or that it's going to work for me, or it's going to work for you. And so what the science does is it repeats, and it becomes more robust because it repeats the same thing time and time again until in the end a pattern emerges. And so scientists can confidently say that gratitude has been shown to increase well-being because it worked for that group of people, and then it worked again for that group of people, and it worked again for that group of people. So when we see that kind of thing, and some of the strategies and the research that I read about and talk about, it did work for those people at that time, and there's a chance that it will work for you and it will work for me. And so when it happens often enough, I think, well, that's interesting and worth looking into. However, it doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. And in fact, it might work for you some of the time, but not necessarily all of the time. So something that's been working for me for several weeks or whatever, all of a sudden I'm like, you know what, that's not really doing it for me anymore. And so then it's time to change and do something else. So a great example of this one size doesn't fit all is a friend of mine and I were out walking the other day, and I had just we'd had a weekend where we said, let's not do any tech, let's not turn the television on, let's not go on our phones, let's just kind of go back to basics. And it was really, really positive experience for us. And then I was thinking about that, met her, went for a walk, and she said, oh my gosh, we decided to try a tech-free weekend. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. We did the same. So it was a disaster. The kids were grumpy and all that kind of stuff. And it just really struck me that there are times when some strategies work for some and not for others. And in all of this, with all the stuff that we are presenting and all the stuff that we talk about within positive psychology, it's about finding what works for you. So I have a really good friend back in Adelaide. Hi, Danny. And Danny says, trying a strategy, and if it doesn't work, then you just flick it off and you find something else instead that does work. And that makes so much sense. It's a little bit like having a toolbox. All these strategies, they're kind of tools that are in that toolbox, and within your toolbox you can rummage around and find the one that best fits that purpose. So for example, in a toolbox you can have a chisel or a hammer or a spanner, screwdriver. Yeah, right. It shows how often I go into my toolbox. What else goes in a toolbox? What other tools? Wrench, there we go, wrench. All these different kind of tools in your toolbox, and you choose which one you need for the job that's in hand. And you can probably use all of those to bang a nail into the wall, but the hammer obviously is better suited and will do the job. So I think when we're talking about what strategies work with all of this stuff, have a rummage around in the toolbox, what works. If it's gratitude and that's the thing that's working for you, then great, go with that one. If it's a tech-free weekend and just having that kind of silent time and that's working for your well-being, your equilibrium, great, go with that one. But don't be fooled or pressurized into thinking that you have to do all of those. Mindfulness and kind of sitting in meditation for 30 minutes is the way to go. That actually might not be the tool that works best for you at this time. So trust yourself, give it a go, see what works, and if it doesn't, then just flick it off and try another tool in that toolbox. Whatever it is, whatever resource you can find that helps you meet that challenge. All right, thanks guys for listening, and speak again soon. Bye.